Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding any matter that's not a public hearing? Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding any matter that's not a public hearing? Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Hearing no others, we will move forward to our next agenda item. Thank you, Mrs. Carter, for the property forms renewal notice, and to all of the builders who came to talk about the rates, which we are going to address. I believe it's agenda item 7, so we will take your comments into consideration. But at this point in time, we are going to move to agenda item number 5, which is the proposed elimination of the Fred Public Transit System C2 route service in Caroline County, and discussion of funding and service options for the C1 route. And we're going to ask Mrs. Beck and Mr. Levine if you would like to come forward. And I do want to say thank you very much for coming forward. Now, in the past, I think 3 or 4 meetings we've had, we do appreciate your efforts, and I know I personally do, because I represent a lot of folks who want to see Fred stay. So we do appreciate the work you've done. May not have always shown it, but I just wanted to make sure you always understood we do appreciate it. So it's my understanding that we need $35,000 in this fiscal year to continue just the C1 route.
That's correct.
And at our last meeting, we eliminated the routes from Dawn and the routes from Port Royal.
That's correct.
And the C2 route that we have on our agenda is which one?
That is Dawn
and Port Royal.
C2 is gone, okay.
With connections to the city of Fredericksburg.
Okay. So basically the board is here to deliberate on how we can handle this. Is there anything you would like to say before I start the public hearing?
Make sure they understand about the relationship. Mr. Chairman, we forwarded some additional information prior to the meeting that was scheduled last week that explained the relationship between the C1 and C2, especially with respect to connections back to the city of Fredericksburg. So when you mentioned the amount of $35,000 to continue the C1 through the end of this fiscal year, that represents a modified C1 so that we retain several round trips between Caroline County and the city of Fredericksburg. Otherwise, there would be no way for anybody from Caroline County to make a round trip back and forth to the city of Fredericksburg on the C1 as it exists now on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. There would only be the opportunity on Tuesday and Thursday. So to summarize, when you say 35,000, that was our estimate for adding about an hour and 15 minutes to the current C1 schedule so that we could make those connections with the city.
Excuse me, I said I think I do have that, and I think the rest of the board has that. We also have in our information packet, you listed some residents or some businesses in Carmel Church that were or were not using Fred. Is that your information?
That was analysis from county staff.
Okay, that was Mr. Wilson's. Okay. All right, and so the bottom line number is $35,000. And that would have Bowling Green to Carmel Church.
Bowling Green, Carmel Church, Lady Smith, and connections to Fredericksburg.
And connections to Fredericksburg. Monday through Friday.
5 days a week.
No Saturday and Sunday. Just Monday through Friday, and morning, afternoon, and evening.
Yes, starts about 7, ends about 5 or 6.
That would leave Fred Central, the proposed schedule, the revised schedule would leave Fred Central at about 7:15 in the morning and run all day and return to Fred Central at 5:30 in the evening.
Okay. I think we understand what you're saying. Any questions of the representatives of Fred at this time? You have a question? Mr. Akers has a question?
I
Mr.
do.
Keeley, do you have one before I go ahead? I was just going around. Ms. Akers?
Some of the complaints that I've had from the western side of the county is the fact that people find it somewhat difficult to be able to get from Ladysmith to Fredericksburg without it being a 2-hour trip, if you will. My question is it possible to
Is your mic on?
so many
Is your mic on?
so many days of the week, whether it be Tuesdays and Thursdays, or Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, or what have you, is it possible to leave Ladysmith and go to Fredericksburg and then return that way and work your way back to the Bowling Green or to the Carmel Church area, where it's now set? Because I guess now you go up Route 2
Right.
to Fredericksburg. And my question is it possible to make the stop at Ladysmith and go up 95 or what have you?
Well, we had done a change last year, which did just that, went up and down Route 1, and then y'all want to change it back, so.
But
Well,
within
to be fair, when we made that change, we had some federal funding,
You
right?
still have federal funding.
The same amount?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
You're.
it matches what the county,
But I
That's
thought
it.
we lost some federal funding last year, and that's why that route got changed.
no,
Okay.
no.
I'm not sure I would change the route, and I'm sure I voted for it, and so I'll take the heat for it from the people in the Madison district. And maybe it's because I hadn't had any complaints, and then after the route was changed, is now when people are telling me that it's creating an issue for them.
Well, it would, if you were to continue the C1 with the modifications we propose, there would be no degradation in service. As it operates now, an individual has to come back by way of Bowling Green and then move on to Fredericksburg. It's not 2 hours, but it's a lengthy trip.
Yeah.
Within the hours, with the envelope of hours, we can look at options, one of which, as you suggest, would be to at least perhaps run one bus down Route 1, past into Cosner's Corner,
Right.
perhaps into the medical center at Spotsylvania, then on to Fred Central, and then maybe swing back around the other way. There's a lot that's possible within a given envelope of hours. There's some things that are impossible as well. What we have proposed is very similar to the way we operate now, basically coming out from Fredericksburg, coming down here, running around the county a couple of times, and then going back to Fredericksburg, out, around the county and out. We could look at, if you decide to proceed with service, at making one of those runs straight in Route 1, maybe come back out again on Tidewater Trail, go back to the city, and then come out again on Route 1 to pick people up. So one of the round trips would be via Route 1. The concern I have is that the C2 stops running the end of this month. We have to have time to plan something like that and to implement it.
I understand.
And it would be quite a task to do that, let everybody know, get everybody on board with that schedule in the next week and a half. Not impossible, but at the same time, we're talking about applying for grants for next year and running a system. So it's something that we could certainly look at, but we'd have to do it very quickly and would need to get some feedback immediately.
And you would still have to do at least 30 days' notice because you're changing the route again, so.
Now, I understand those things, and
Yep.
from my standpoint, I'm willing to do those type of things if we can bring some service that the people over there have. Again, I've had several people to call me and express a concern about the elimination, but also they've indicated to me that the service that they were getting, or they feel like that we're getting over that side of the county, really is not inducive to people using it as much as they could use it by the fact they have to, you know, come over here, then go up Route 2. And if it was just from Ladysmith to, if they had to catch a Ladysmith to go to Fredericksburg, it would be a much easier ride for them.
Right, and we understand that, but also understand what happens with us. We have one bus.
Yeah.
And we hit a lot of miles, and we try to hit, you know, get to everybody as best as we can.
I understand those things. I understand those things.
Perhaps what we can do is, if this is the board's decision to continue the C1, is that through February, we implement the revised schedule that we have provided you, which is very similar to the existing schedule and pattern of service, and then consider what happens March, April, May, and June for the rest of the year, again, within the envelope of hours that you're purchasing, basically,
Right.
and see whether there isn't something we could do for the western end of the county.
Okay. And as it is now, you're asking for $35,000, or you need $35,000 to continue running. So rough fuzzy math, we're talking about $6,000 a month is what it takes to work this schedule out. I'm just saying 6 months. I can count. So, all right. So based on that, you know, is that going to be, if we continue along, just because I'm thinking we're going to do this, I'm thinking that. Next year, we're still going to be looking at the same kind of $6,000 a month over that fiscal year, because the schedule will be basically the same.
My fuzzy math, we looked at just continuing a version of the C1 next year, and I think the local government share came out to about $78,000 or $80,000.
Okay, which is kind of close to $6,000 a month, so we
Expenses
we
went
might
up.
look at it a little more. Oh, all right.
Expenses went up a few $1,000s in the budget from year to year.
Okay, that's fair. All right, so I think we understand from your perspective. If you folks would do me a favor and have a seat, I'm gonna open the public hearing, and then we'll probably ask you for some more comments when we're done.
Okay.
Okay. All right, at this time, I will open the public hearing for agenda item number 5, which is the proposed elimination of Fred Public Transit System, C2 route service in Caroline County, and discussion of funding and service options for the C1 route. The public hearing is now declared to be open. Mrs. Brown, if you, we will, of course, on the tape recording, move your comments from where they were to here, but if there was anything else that you needed to add, you gave us a petition with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, probably about 45 names or so on it. Was there anything else you wanted to add? Since you made your, it was my mistake and you made your public comment at the wrong time. Is there anything else you wanted to add? Or I'll say briefly add, because we already heard, it's like a lawyer, you can't unhear what you heard before, so.
Okay. The only thing I would like to add to it, after hearing the Fred people talk and Mr. Akers speak, I just want to put on record that I would like to be involved with the Fred people doing that schedule over again.
And I know you've been very involved with the folks that are riding Fred, so I think if we did that, we would have an asset in you, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding the Fred bus schedule? And as you come down and speak, please state your name and what voting district you are from.
Gentlemen, good evening. My name is Billy Day, and I'm from Rufus Glen area. And I'm here on the appeal for Fred. I think that's C1. Yeah. That it will help tremendously that we continue on with Fred. Personalized on myself, it helps me because I am a veteran, and I retired from Fort A.P. Hill, and that I do use the installation in Fredericksburg, the VA clinic, and Fred stops right there in front of the VA clinic. And I'll have to go to the VA clinic I have to go to the VA clinic three times a week. And I get a ride, or I drive to Bowling Green and I catch a Bowling Green. And the reason I do that because it helps me on my expenses. It helps me financial-wise because my mortgage has screamingly went up higher. And I've just received the tax assessment proof that they have lowered my tax. I mean, not lowered my tax, I apologize. Assessed my home down to nothing almost to me because not what I paid for. In other words, financial-wise on Fred will help me and my family. And personally, me as being a veteran, retired from Fort A.P. Hill, it would just go perfect with me. And I appreciate it very much. Thanks for hearing me.
Thank you, sir. And I'll remind folks that as you come forward and speak, there is a 3-limit time limit. I'm fairly liberal with that 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Carolyn Day, and I'm from the Mattapanai district. And I'm here today because I heard that they wanted to stop Fred, but I'm also here today because I wanted Fred to come over to the Lake Shore area. We have like 22 single mothers. They don't drive. And I've been trying to get Fred to come there. They really need Fred. They have to go to clinic with their children. A lot of them work the evening shift. Me, myself, I take off time that I don't have to help these single mothers. And, you know, I ask that Fred stay in the county, and I ask that Fred start stopping over in the Lake Shore area. And please take that into consideration, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding the Fred bus schedule?
Hello, I'm Patricia Ferguson, and I'm from the Mattapanai district. I would like the Fred to stay personally because I'm unemployed right now, and the Fred will be my only sole transportation to find a job in Fredericksburg, Carmel Church, or Ladysmith area. And that will be just my transportation to find a job, and when I get a job, to get to my job. So that's personally why I need Fred to stay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding the Fred bus schedule? Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding the Fred bus schedule?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Letty Yance. I'm from the Mattapanai district. And the reason I definitely need Fred is for my 2 sons because I'm a bus driver and I leave at 5:30 in the morning, and they have no transportation to get to work in Carmel Church but to ride to Fred. Fred stops at the store, they walk to the store, go to work. Fred comes back to Petro, pick them up, and they come back home. So I would definitely love for Fred to stay. Thank you.
I understand.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Robert Rousey. I am an employee at Petro, and my only way to work is Fred. A few years ago, I did have a vehicle and driver's license, and I got sick, had a seizure. DMV sent for my driver's license. So I'm on medication, and I don't drive anymore, and my only transportation to work is Fred. So if y'all could find in your heart to continue this service, it would be a great help to me. Thank you.
Before you leave, did we meet at the Gulf Station?
Yes.
Down the street?
Yes, sir. We
You had
talked.
just gotten off of Fred the other day? Okay.
Now I'm ready to catch the Fred.
You was ready? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you. All right.
I've said before, I ran into a lot of people who took Fred at that particular gas station, and I thought you were one of them. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this matter?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, my name is Dennis Perdue. I'm not a resident here. I'm actually representing the Rappahannock Area Agency on Aging. I am the recently hired mobility specialist for the region, and want to make it clear that where we think we cannot ever replace Fred, we're aware that there are some individuals, some of which are here probably, who are going to be transportation impaired because of not being able to get to work. My agency has a small fleet of vehicles, and we were told, I think by a gentleman, Gary Wilson, I think of the Office of Tourism, that there is a need, obviously, to do transportation. We're willing to dialogue with the board and the county to see if we can help some of these folks if Fred service is curtailed. Again, we don't think we can replace Fred. We might be able to help some of your constituents to get to work. And I can give my phone number. I can leave. I'm on camera, right? So I give the number. Phone number.
You may want to just pass it to Mr. Parton, who is.
I can do that. Thanks very much.
All right. Now, before you go, since you volunteered that, can anybody ride the RAAA bus, or you have to be a senior citizen? I mean, you have to be a senior citizen?
No, there's actually two programs. We have a medical transportation program for those 60 years of age or older. We also have a program called Mobility Options. It's a New Freedom federal dollars that come down from the FTA. We're trying to expand and enlarge our transportation resources for the entire region, Region 16, which does include Caroline County. Like everybody, we're limited. We need drivers. We have a small fleet. They are all mobility approved. All our vehicles can carry wheelchairs. So depending upon what the request is, we can and cannot do the ride. We have more availability during the week, not as much on weekends, of course, and of course also evenings. Most of our drivers are retired and they volunteer their time. They're compensated, but really they're doing it because they like to help more than the compensation that they're receiving. When I give my number to the gentleman to my left, yeah, any request can come into our office, and we're really taking them on it's almost like a case management system. One of the reasons I was hired was to kind of combine everything together and make sure that all transportation options are on the table, which could include fixed route or door-to-door. We're going to look into vouchers down the road. We're going to try everything we can to try and help people in this region.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this matter? Hearing none, we'll declare the public hearing to be closed. Board members have comments or questions of Fred or staff? Mr. Roselle. Mr. Sealy.
That's interesting. You know, in light of some of the comments tonight, I understand that it's a service that is desperately needed, and I don't see how we resolve with the RAA and Fred at this juncture. I mean, we are at the end of the line, so to speak, of making a decision. And I know that with fuel costs going up, again, that we're going to probably see more folks. Isn't that what Fred experienced the last time? High fuel costs, the ridership was up. That's what I thought. Those are sort of my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Gas is above $3 a gallon again, isn't it? Mr. Akers?
I guess my question is to staff, whether it be Mr. Wilson or Mr. Ashcraft. You know, we had in our packet a public notice form about another company that was, assuming, was trying to get operating authority to operate in Caroline County, or they already have operating authority?
They're applying. It says that MedExpress Transport has applied to DMV for authority to operate as a common carrier.
Right. And my question is, do you have any idea, of course, the opposition is not to February the 14th, but what's this company all about? Is this a company something like the RAAA, or is it a company something like Fred, or is it a different animal altogether?
I'm not sure I have seen the document that you're referring to, Mr. Akers.
This one?
Oh, it just dropped it up.
I can answer in general, however, that we have contacted a number of van companies and to see if they would be at all interested in providing some kind of commuter service for people who are working in Carmel Church.
Do you know about this?
No, sir, I do not.
You have not seen this before?
No, sir, I have not.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I know that came in the mail to me as chairman, and I gave it to Mr. Ashcraft and put it in our packet.
So it was put in by the staff. Okay. I would be interested to find out more about this company and what they are wanting to do and planning to do. realizing that Fred has told us with no uncertainty that they cannot keep going month to month, and I understand that completely. So we have to make a decision tonight as to whether, and my question is, can we make a decision tonight to go through the end of June and commit to that, but not commit to anything after the 30th of June?
Which would be normal during our budget process.
For the most part, it would be, but I think that,
And we'd have to, based on what they said before, we'd have to give them 30 days to say we're not going to do it anymore, if that were the case. Ms. Beck, would you like to address that?
We actually need some sort of commitment to move forward because our grants are due
Right.
February 1st. So we
For-
put our grant for fiscal
next
year
fiscal
12.
year.
Mhm.
Right. So what's a commitment? Define commitment.
Well,
Because if we say, and the reason I ask, not to be funny, but the reason I ask that is the board is going to say, yes, we want to go ahead with Fred.
mhm.
And we're going to find $30,000 somewhere and say, yeah, we're going to go through it.
Right,
And then you're going to apply for grants for next year.
right.
And Mr. Ashcraft is going to give us our budget in March, February, March. And we're going to look at our budget and we're going to say, we don't have any money, we got to cut this out, we got to cut that out. Fred may be one of those things we look at reducing the funding. So,
And as long as you tell me before the next fiscal cycle comes, I'm good to go.
then we're good.
But what happened was last time I didn't find out until this budget season came. We put in the grants last year, we can put in the grants this year. If you decide to cut our budget, we need to have it
Right.
in writing
Okay,
when the board makes that decision.
that's fair, that's fair. So our commitment would be, if we're going to continue Fred with this $35,000 we find somewhere, we're, as Mr. Akers asked, continuing Fred until June 30th. And we will, of course, deliberate as a board when we talk about our budget. And as long as we let you know sometime during that budget process that, oh, we've got X amount of dollars we can give to Fred, you're happy, we're happy. Fair? Okay. Okay. I'm looking for a motion to find,
I see
You
one
wanna
head
say
shaking yes and one
Oh.
very,
I'm sorry, I looked down, I didn't see that.
smile
Mr.
on the
Levine?
face.
It's not fair,
Well-
in fact. We have to apply for the sake of argument, $80,000, well, actually, for more than that. We have to apply for the full amount for the next fiscal year by the end of the month.
Right.
And we have to go through the process of putting the numbers together, going through the process of applying, justifying all of those numbers for the next fiscal year. We understand that we're a little out of sync with when you consider your budget. It's the same arrangement with all of our county partners. So that means that we are investing time and effort in something that we're not sure is going to materialize. Plus, we are now at a point in the county that our methodology for apportioning expenses may break down. The way we do it now is by the number of revenue hours we operate in each jurisdiction. When we're down to such a small number of hours, the administrative cost to Fred of maintaining operations in Caroline County really is no longer in proportion to the number of hours we operate in the county. Which, from our point of view, and I hate to burden you with this gibberish, it means that we have to go back and rethink how we allocate all of our expenses to all of our partners because we are down to such minimal service in one of the jurisdictions. So even if you were to say to us, gee, we'd love to have you operating here in fiscal year 2012 at roughly the C1 level, I'm not sure that when we sit down and deliberate at Fred and talk to our boss, the city manager in the city of Fredericksburg, of what it takes to operate out here, that our decision would be we want to provide that service.
Right.
We've talked some about alternatives that would be perhaps just as efficient and more cost-effective than 22 passenger buses running out here with only a few people on them, and we understand that, and we'd be happy to work with you on finding alternatives if that's the decision. But please understand that once you've at least committed philosophically to want to continue some form of bus service next year,
Yeah.
we at Fred also need to consider philosophically whether we are the best people to provide that for you.
Right.
So we will have that discussion when we go back amongst ourselves, and we will have that discussion with the city manager and the assistant city manager in Fredericksburg based on your decisions this evening.
Mr. Levine, I understand exactly what you said, and I kind of like you am in sales, and you spend the same amount of effort on a $10,000 sale as you do on $1 million sale. So then you look at yourself and you say, why am I wasting my time with that $10,000 sale? I understand what you're saying. And in that light, we are the $10,000 sale because you've got a lot of money in the city of Fredericksburg. But what I'm saying to you, and I'm saying to Mrs. Beck, is we, or at least what I heard on the board, is that we want to keep Fred. We want to find the $35,000 right now to keep Fred going till June. And we want to keep that level of service going next year. Understandable. The fair part is, and probably life's not fair, but we have to do our budget and figure out where we're going to find $80,000 next year. So we're giving you a commitment saying we would like to continue that service, but I can't necessarily say I'm going to have $80,000 in Fred's service next year. I can say we would like Fred to stay. I can say personally my vote will be whatever it is now or in March will be to keep Fred, because a lot of those people back there, and the one gentleman that I saw on a regular basis at the gas station, they're going to work. I got to keep my people going to work. You know, they're the RAAAs of the world may just take senior citizens, they may not. The new thing we got that I gave away was a medical company trying to do emergency transport. That may or may not work. You know, you're a viable asset to the county and we want to keep you there. I don't know how much more fair I can get. You know, knowing that I got to dig in my pocket to find some money, and I got deep pockets and short arms.
Well, what we will assume, Mr. Chairman, is that you do want Fred service for the next fiscal year. Well, at the level, this is for our consideration, at the level of the C1 service that we would continue through the end of this fiscal year. Then our consideration is, even if you commit to that, does it make sense for us to be the ones who provide it? And we'll give you an honest answer on that in fairly short order, because we don't want to have to go through the rigmarole of applying for a grant if we don't think that we're the right people to be providing service out here.
Well, we think you are. You've done it for a while, so we'd like you to continue in that process. There's the one addition Mr. Akers had regarding the Route 1 traffic. I think that'll make it a little better for his folks. I think that's where we are. So let me make sure where we are. Any other comments, questions of the board? How does the board want to pursue this matter?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we maintain Fred on the revised C1, if you will, schedule at the cost of $35,090 through the end of June.
Second.
Motion has been made by Mr. Akers and seconded by Mr. Seeley to provide an additional appropriation to the Fred bus service in the amount of $35,090, which is the budgeted request from Fred to continue service through the end of this fiscal year. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That motion carries unanimously, so we're going to find $35,090 somewhere, give it to Fred, so we can continue. We're going to try to continue Fred next fiscal year in your planning. So I think all the efforts and all the folks out there kind of tell you there is a commitment on Caroline's part to continue Fred. So, motion passed. We're going to approve that, and again, we thank you for your money.
Mr. Chairman, could I also, if you would allow me, I would certainly hope that maybe staff, and I don't know who on staff, Mr. Ashcraft needs to determine that, but maybe with Fred and RAAA and the new company, you know, I hear what Fred is saying. You know, it may make sense to us and it may not make sense to you in order to continue to provide service in Caroline County, understanding. But I would like for the three groups, if they could, sit down together and see how they could supplement each other and certainly help each other to provide a better service.
And that's a great point. I'm going to ask Mr. Ashcraft to take care of that, or at least look at it with Mr. Wilson, and maybe just communicate with you folks. But
we do communicate on a regular basis. There's a monthly meeting for Human Services. Fred is on that board, RAAA is on that board, RACSB. So, and there are other providers.
Good, great.
Okay.
Thank you all.
thank you. Mrs. Beck and Mrs. Levine, again, thank you for your continued efforts to get here. We do appreciate all the work you've done, and as I said, we may not always show we appreciate it, but I wanted to make sure you understood we really do appreciate it. So, thanks again. If you'd like to leave, you can, or you can stay for the rest of the board meeting. Yeah, okay, right. All righty. Agenda item number 6 is an ordinance to amend Article 6, Section 10343, filing of return tangible personal property and machine and tool tax of the Caroline County Code to provide for a reduction in personal property taxes for active volunteer rescue squad and fire company members. Mr. Parton, I take it this is yours.
It is, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The purpose of tonight's public hearing is to consider the reduction that we talked about previously for 50% off of the personal property tax assessment for one vehicle per active volunteer. This incentive was proposed by the Emergency Services Commission as a way to retain and recruit fire and rescue volunteers. To qualify for the exemption, if you will, the following criteria would have to be met. The volunteer would have to regularly respond to calls or regularly perform other duties for rescue squad or fire department, be at least 18 years of age on January 1st of the applicable year, have at least 1 calendar year of active service. The vehicle has to be registered in the owner or lessor's name, and the volunteer cannot owe any other taxes to Caroline County. If approved, the first implementation of the incentive would occur with the June 2011 tax bill. Chief Lehman will work with the members of each volunteer squad and department to compile a list of the active volunteers and submit to the Commissioner of Revenue each February. This year, of course, that process is well underway because the time is obviously growing short. The cost of the incentive is capped at $10,000 in FY11, and again, that was a recommendation of the Emergency Services Commission. With that, Mr. Chairman, I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Parton. Any questions for Mr. Parton at this time?
No questions, just a statement.
Statement, Mr. Popowitz?
I think this is a great idea. I know that our volunteers put in a lot of time with classes and also their time in helping with the rescues, and they spend a lot of time out there that they don't get compensated for, and this is in some small way thank you, I think, and I would encourage every board member to support this.
Thank you, Mr. Popowitz. Excellent comments. Ms. Roselle, you have any questions? Or?
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing really to say. I think Mr. Popowitz covered it well. But I guess I do need to disclose I'm a volunteer firefighter. So,
are you active?
Appropriate, yeah, for the occasion. So, just want to make sure our attorney knows that. If he has any recommendations for me, I would take them.
Can he vote or not vote? That's his question. I don't think you'll have to vote, Mr. Roselle, but if you'd like to abstain, well, let's. And I was just teasing about Mr. Roselle being active. I was actually at Mattaponi Springs when somebody had a heart attack, and Mr. Roselle was the one who showed up, so I know